Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. I'm recording this just a few hours after arriving home from Steel City Con, and normally that would be the biggest story. However, I believe that the rule changes announced Wednesday night on Talk of the Universe are the top story this week, so we're going to talk about those first. For those of you who did not see the June 9th episode of Talk of the Universe, they announced that the following teams are being moved to the tag team division effective immediately. So the moment they showed that tag team on screen, it is now officially a tag team. I'm going to start in no particular order talking about the tag teams that were promoted. First up, everybody was promoted from a single to everybody and a buddy tag team. The stats are now Tornado Tag stats. The gimmick is exactly the same. I have never really played against an everybody in a tournament, but there are plenty of stories out there that when that gimmick gets going, it can be quite oppressive. So I understand then in that case the promotion. I definitely can see that when that hand size gets up to 10 and gets up to 14 in singles where you're getting that +2 every time, it can be very difficult to win tournaments. So everybody now a tag team. Next up, Belinda. Belinda has been promoted to Belinda and Nemesis. The gimmick's exactly the same. Belinda's a very tough competitor. I mean, Belinda came out and won Gen Con 2019, the World Heavyweight Championship tournament. John Polverino used her to get his, I believe at that time it was the second straight Gen Con World Heavyweight Championship tournament. And look at the gimmick, it's easy to see why. +2 when you stop a card with the lead to your next turn roll. +1 when you stop a card with a follow-up. And then she has that finish, I believe it's the finish strike when it's in the discard pile. And your opponent stops a card, your next turn roll is +1. You can play her with a lot of stops and rack up turn roll bonuses. Makes a lot of sense that she's a very tough competitor to beat. Getting promoted to that tag team division and keeping the same gimmick will make her a little bit less effective because all the stats are doubled, all the skills are doubled, but the gimmick's staying the same. Her gimmick, all it's really going to do, assuming the stop cards played aren't turn roll bonus stops, is just give you the ability to win instead of bump. So she's going to be a little bit more manageable. She's kind of going to be more like a devil's advocate. When she stops, she sort of gains his gimmick, where she's going to get that +1 or +2. If there is a bump, she'll win instead. Alright, next up. Jacques has been promoted to Jacques and Mambata. Gimmick's the same. It's still a strong gimmick that, when the opponent moves any number of cards from their discard pile for a card or gimmick, they're going to randomly bury. It's especially difficult because it's not just when the opponent moves it of their own volition, but if Jacques plays a card or does something where Jacques will make the opponent move the card, that's also going to trigger the gimmick. So still a strong gimmick, just because Tornado Tag gimmicks are stronger than singles gimmicks, it's probably a better balance in Tornado Tag. It also takes it away from the tag team division, the two-player tag team division, which Jacques in the two-player tag team division is extremely strong when it combos with things like Jokerfish or Miss Supernova. So probably for balance, very good that I got promoted up into the Tornado Tag Division. The gold standard was something people have been clamoring for a while, promoted to the Tag Team Division. Same gimmick. When you roll technique, add a card from discard to hand. When you hit a submission, flip a card. I know gold standard is good, and it's hard to argue with the result. I believe Keith Strader made the finals of the Gen Con World Heavyweight Championship back-to-back years playing gold standard, and almost made the finals last year, made the semifinals last year with gold standard. So definitely has a track record of success, but it's never really won the big one. This one I'm kind of on the fence about, but it is good, so I can see why there's that desire to move it. Sierra Nevada, after having won multiple CACs, has been promoted to the tag team division. It's Sierra Nevada and Sherpa now. The gimmick has remained the same. To compare, with the old gimmick as a single, out of 36 possible turn roll combinations, assuming no turn roll boasts to Sierra Nevada or the opponent, when the gimmick is on, there were 18 possible wins for Sierra, 12 losses, 6 bumps. Now in Tornado Tag, using the same conditions, no turn roll boosts, Sierra Nevada still wins 18 turn rolls of the 36, but she loses 15. There will only be 3 bumps when the gimmick is on. So, not as bad for the opponent. To put this in perspective quickly for people who aren't familiar with this, the way that the game is set up, assuming no turn roll boosts for either player, out of 36 possible turn roll combinations, 15 turn rolls are a win for a player normally, 15 are a loss, and 6 are bumps. Under old Sierra Nevada, it took 3 wins away from the opponent and gave 3 wins to Sierra Nevada. The bumps in the singles case remained the same. In Tornado Tag, the number of wins for the Sierra Nevada and Sherpa stays the same. The bumps change. 3 bumps go away, and instead Sierra wins 3 out of those times where she would normally bump. So not as strong as it was in singles. Is it going to be something that gets a lot of play in tag? I don't know. But that's the way Sierra Nevada and Sherpa will work now. Also, let me bring this up while I'm thinking about it. Most Sierras are the same way. However, at Gen Con 2019, there were a limited number of Sierra Nevada cards released where Sierra Nevada had a different gimmick. It was the same skills, except for one. I think that technique was added and one of the skills was taken away, and it only worked on turn rolls. Based on what I've seen from a post on the SRG Super Show discussion group on Facebook, when that is promoted to Sierra Nevada and Sherpa, it no longer has that gimmick. It has the other Sierra Nevada gimmick. So that limited edition gimmick is going to be fully replaced with the Sierra Nevada gimmick that the majority of the cards have. The final competitor getting promoted to Tornado Tag, someone that has been clamored for to get promoted for a long time, D2 is now D2 and the Ringmaster. This has been a long time coming. D2, really strong competitor. For those of you who don't know, using that same 36 possible combination when you play D2 in singles, instead of being 15 wins, 15 losses, 6 bumps, it's 15 wins for D2, 11 losses, and 10 bumps. Very strong, taking wins away from the opponent. It actually gets better in tag stat-wise. It gains a bump. So it'll actually go to 15 wins for D2 and the Ringmaster, 10 wins for the opponent, and 11 bumps Again, assuming no turn roll boosts. As far as I know, for all of these competitor cards, they're not getting new finishes. I don't know what that means for playability. I haven't looked into that exactly. D2, I do know, has that face melter that's unstoppable when D2 rolls exactly 2 greater than his opponent. I could see face melter being unstoppable more often in Tornado Tag. We'll just have to see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen as far as all these competitors are concerned. We'll have to see if they end up taking the Tornado Tag division by storm and being forces there, or if they just kind of fade into the background. Jacques, I think, could continue to be good. He's still strong. In Tornado Tag, that gimmick is going to be strong at any level. Hand destruction is always strong in this game. Some of these other things that get turn roll boosts, again, the turn roll boosts when you double the skills are half as effective. Gold Standard could continue to be good as well. It's still a solid gimmick. How it compares to the other stronger Tornado Tag gimmicks, we'll just have to see. But those cards have been promoted to the tag team division. Now, there are a couple competitors they showed on Talk of the Universe that are in the works, alternate versions of some of these. Everybody was one of them. There might be a new singles version of Everybody with a tamed gimmick. There might be a new version of Jacques, and I believe they showed a possible new version of Belinda, just going off of memory. D2, there will be no D2 in singles as of right now. Same with Gold Standard. Same with Sierra Nevada. Again, that's subject to change. Maybe they end up putting a new single version of Gold Standard out there with a gimmick that's more suited to singles. Maybe they do that with Sierra Nevada as well. Only time's going to tell on those. Same thing with D2. The other thing they did on Talk of the Universe, outside of promoting competitors from singles to tag, and all these changes are effective immediately the moment they put them up on the screen on Facebook this time. Twitch wasn't working, so they broadcast on Facebook. All of these are live. So the first ones we'll talk about are the change to Schoolboy and Backslide. The original Schoolboy and Backslide is going from memory. This card is also a finish. If your finish roll is 8 or greater, it's -3. Draw 2 cards in the case of Schoolboy. Your opponent, I believe, buries or randomly buries in the case of Backslide. Again, just going from memory here. Here is the new text of these cards effective immediately. We'll start with Schoolboy, then I'll give you Backslide, and then we'll talk about it. Schoolboy. These are lead grapples at number 26. This card is also a finish. Draw 2 cards. Your finish rolls are -3. If it is a tag team match, they are -6. If it is a trios match, they are -9. Backslide, same text with one exception. This card is also a finish. Your opponent randomly buries 1 card in their hand. Your finish rolls are -3. If it is a tag team match, they are -6. If it is a trios match, they are -9. First off, I like the idea of the doubling and the tripling when it goes to tag team and trio. With the original text, when you used Schoolboy in Tornado Tag, because the skills are doubled, the minus is effectively half as strong as it used to be. In trios, when you triple the numbers, it's a third as strong as it used to be. So I like that doubling to sort of make the balance. I'm not sure if I like taking away the minimum. Under the old Schoolboy, for example, in a singles, your possible finish rolls before any other boosts and the crowd meter were 567, 567. Now, with this, your possible finish rolls are 765, 432. To me, that really makes Schoolboy not an effective finish. Makes it a lot more difficult to potentially win a match with a Schoolboy. Also, and let me point this out too, When it says it's a tag team match, that's not just Tornado. That's 2-player tag, so you and a partner versus 2 opponents playing as a team. In that case, if you hit Schoolboy in that tag team, your possible finish rolls are 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and -1. So I feel like Schoolboy may almost be unplayable in that type of tag team match. I feel like this is going to make Schoolboy and Backslide possibly almost leave the game, which kind of just gut feeling. Not, I don't like the idea of changing a card so radically it basically takes it right out of the game. From what I understand, a lot of people are playing Schoolboy with the idea of using it just to bump up the crowd meter rather than actually trying to win with it. And apparently that was a problem. I've never seen it, but apparently that was something that they were seeing at SRG Universe, that Schoolboy bumping up the crowd meter is a problem. And so this is sort of a solution to sort of curb that, keep that from just, using competitors where bumping up the crowd meter is an advantage for them. Also, people who can just spam Schoolboy, Haley Stevens, for example, with her gimmick, can just keep picking Schoolboy back up over and over and playing it. This will sort of curb that. We'll just have to see how it shakes out with Schoolboy and Backslide. Not sure if I'm a big fan of the changes. I feel like it might be too much, but we'll just have to see how this affects those cards going forward. Hardcore Running Knee. The finish strike that comes with X-Royce. They've added a sentence to that finish. The sentence is, if stopped, you lose the match via disqualification. For those of you unfamiliar with X-Royce, one of the things that makes X-Royce so strong is that his gimmick triggers based on sort of the possibilities 40% of the time when he loses the turn roll. This finish will come back to X-Royce's hand under the same conditions as his gimmick hitting. So, when X-Royce loses, 40% of the time, when he loses, he will be able to pick up the Hardcore Running Knee if it's in the discard pile, assuming nothing preventing you from moving cards from discard pile to hand. That makes this a very strong finish to get back and keep playing over and over. What they've done to sort of prevent you from just playing it over and over is make it so if it gets stopped, you lose the match via disqualification. There is an alternative finish for X-Royce, the Vicious Running Knee. Maybe we'll continue to see X-Royce being played, and we'll see Vicious Running Knees used under normal conditions, and when the matches are no disqualification, then we'll see the Hardcore Running Knee get swapped in. I'm not sure how this is going to affect the X-Royce play, if X-Royce will become less dominant. I kind of want to say I don't think it will, because I still think the gimmick is really strong. And again, there's an alternate finish that's actually, I believe, a finish stop. It can be a stop under certain conditions. This may just make it sort of less dominant, but still pretty good. That's the change to X-Royce and the Hardcore Running Knee finish. Top Rope Flying Headband Drop. This is a generic skill finish at number 28. You have to have an 8 or greater power to run it. The new text is +2 to technique, +1 to strike. When you have 12 or more cards in your hand, this card cannot be stopped. They've increased the number of cards you have to make this unstoppable. That's just going to prevent it from triggering as often. Again, I've never seen this really be abused, so I wasn't expecting this to be on the list, but apparently it's something that was on SRG Universe's radar, and they've decided that upping the number will curb that abuse, make it less powerful. Now, side note, the Matt Nealon competitor set has this card in it as a logoed finish for Matt Nealon. That has the original text on it, and that will not change. If you're going up against a Matt Nealon or the Matt Nealon tag theme like Double the Fun, X Kittens, a trio like Band of Brothers, just going off the top of my head. Watch, because that top rope flying headband drop, and I believe actually his is called the original top rope flying headband drop, so they're different names. But that version has the original text, which I want to say is 10 or more cards in your hand. Let me then just recap this. Under the original version and with the current Matt Nealon version, if you had 10 cards in your hand when you went to play it, so it counted itself, or more than 10, it was unstoppable once it hit, because at the time you had 10 cards is when you played it. That's when it looks for the trigger, as far as I understand. Now you have to have 12 cards. So after it hits, you're going to have at least 11 cards left in your hand. That's top rope flying headband drop. They've also made changes to crippling crossface. The new text on crippling crossface: a finish submission number 30 generic. You have to have an 8 or greater power to run it and have the text be live. The new text is +1 to technique, +1 to submission. When you have 8 or more cards in your hand, your opponent gets 2 breakout rolls this turn. It was 10 or more. I'm not sure why they decreased it. I don't know if that's just to make it more playable. That would be my guess. But they've actually decreased it. So it is live if you have 8 or more cards in your hand, and that is after it hits. So with top rope flying headband drop, new rules, you have 12 cards in your hand, including that, you play it, it's unstoppable. With this, when you have 8 or more cards in your hand, that means before you play it, you have to have at least 9 cards in your hand. You play it, it hits, then it checks your hand size, and if you have 8 or more, your opponent gets 2 breakout rolls this turn. I'm assuming that's to make this card more playable, because I'm guessing it wasn't very playable under the old rules. Finally, they have instantly errated the Scott Prime gimmick. All the skills, just at a quick glance, look to be the same. The original Scott Prime gimmick was, when you roll agility for your turn or finish roll, you may switch it to power. This is when you roll technique for your turn or finish roll, you may switch it to power. So under the original, if you rolled your 5 skill, you could switch it to a 7. Under the new one, if you roll technique, your 6 skill, you can switch it to a 7. So effectively, it's +1 to your technique during turn or finish rolls, although it's not worded that way, so anything that would prevent a +1 in that normal language is not going to work here. This is a swap and not a pure +1. So different wording can prevent some potential interactions. Still good. Still a good gimmick, just not as strong as it was. But, still a good gimmick. Scott Prime's always been considered a strong gimmick, even though I can't really think of any major tournament wins off the top of my head that Scott Prime has won. I know that Jacob Maynard, who is very well versed in the rules of this game, loves playing Scott Prime, uses him quite a bit. I've played Scott Prime. That's the new Scott Prime, again, effective immediately. So if you play Scott Prime, you're going to be using this gimmick. Technique instead of agility. I'm not sure how that's going to affect his play going forward. I don't think it'll affect it too much because, again, I still think it's a good gimmick. To compare, under the old gimmick, I have the 36 possible turn rolls. 17 would be wins for a Scott Prime player. 13 would be losses. 6 bumps. New stats. 16 wins. 14 losses. 6 bumps. Slightly less effective. You're losing a win. This isn't considering sort of the Scott Prime tricks you use, things like boosting the power skill, because effectively with this gimmick, it's like you roll power twice. So if you play something that boosts power to 8 or 9, you're now getting 2 chances to roll that, because it triggers not just when you roll power, but also rolling the other skill, agility before, technique now, makes that a power. Again, we'll just have to wait and see on this. slightly not as good, but that is the Scott Prime change. And those are all of the new changes to cards effective as of last week's Talk of the Universe. Those are those changes. Now, let's talk about Steel City Con. SRG Universe was at Steel City Con in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. 3 days, June 11th, 12th, and the 13th today as I record this. They had events 2 nights, Friday night and Saturday night. Let's go through the events. A primary tournament event and then some after events. Friday night tournament, 4 bullet rounds cut to a top 8. In this quarterfinal round, all of the matches were special guest referee matches. The first matchup in the top 8, the Cannoli Anthony Perry using X-Royce faced off against Ryan Nealon using Ryan. The special guest referee was chosen from the competitors that did not make the top cut. So of the 8 that didn't make it, they randomly picked. Of those 8, in this case, the special guest referee for this match was Le Guillotine. The next matchup, the Beast Michael Kerr using El Super Hombre faced off against Tim Riley, the judge, using the Enforcer. In their match, the special guest referee was Sage the Wiccan Witch. The third quarterfinal match, Scott Winterbauer, the Fireball, using his new competitor Black Scorpion X, took on Big Jim Bias using Amazing Red. Matt Nealon was the special guest referee in this match. The last quarterfinal match, Time Bomb Tim, using the J-Train, took on the Booker team. James Booker playing the cards, Macho Manny rolling the dice, using Macho Manny. Special guest referee here was Ricochet. Top 4. Anthony Perry with X-Royce faces off against Tim Riley with the Enforcer. The Booker team with Macho Manny faces off against Scott Winterbauer with Black Scorpion X. These are all the Chris Pagillo created dark match stipulation where the discard piles are not public knowledge. The finalists in this tournament ended up being the Cannoli Anthony Perry with X-Royce and the Booker team with Macho Manny. This was a New York rules match, so starts at crowd meter 1, no disqualification. Working against the clock because the events Friday night were held primarily at Mr. Nice Guy Games, and they were preparing to close down. In the end, the winner here, the Cannoli Anthony Perry with X-Royce. He was actually able to win using the vicious running knee as a stop. As I said earlier, the vicious running knee under certain conditions will stop finish grapples. It actually met the condition on this turn roll. Macho Manny plays the grapple finish. Cannoli plays the stop, the vicious running knee, and wins the tournament. As a result of winning, he will be one of 2 people featured on a special card that's going to be created commemorating Steel City Con. Afterwards, a number of the players moved to a hotel, and we played a couple other matches. There was a Cosmic Birdcage draft, and there was a Payoff Pack round robin tournament. In the Cosmic Birdcage draft, 6 players opened up the 6 Cosmic Crusader packs, drafted competitors, drafted cards 1 through 30, and played a Birdcage match. The winner there ends up being Time Bomb Tim Creaser. The other group in the Payoff Pack round robin, you bought a Payoff Pack. You picked one of the competitors to use as your competitor. These were all singles matches. You could use skill cards even if they did not qualify for that skill. So if you had to have, say, a strike of 8 or greater, your strike was 5. It was live in this format. You could use cards like Number 1 Contender or 2 for the Super Show. We only ended up playing 3 matches each in this round robin tournament. At the end of 3 matches, I was the only undefeated at 3-0, so I won the payoff pack round robin tournament. That was Friday night. Saturday night, we meet up at a local hotel conference room to play in a tournament. This tournament starts off with 4 Swiss rounds. Friday night was bullets. These were Swiss rounds. This actually cut to a top 10. There was one undefeated player at 4-0, Matt Nealon, and one random 1-3 player, Jay Flash, Jasmine Schneider. In the opening round of the top cut, ends up being the quarterfinal round. There are 3 triad matches, Matt Nealon getting a bye directly into the semifinals. The 3 winners of the triad matches end up being Chris Pagillo, the Cannoli, Anthony Perry, and the 1-3 Jasmine Schneider, Jay Flash make the semifinals. Steel cage match in the semifinals, Chris Pagillo versus Jay Flash, Matt Nealon versus Anthony Perry. The finalists end up being Chris Pagillo, the Italian Mambata, and Matt Nealon, the headband champion. They come out. Both members of the Cuddle Commandos get put into the Hug It Out submission match. Italian Mambata once again gets a shot to try to break his losing streak in submission matches and come out the victor. Pagillo playing himself, the Italian Mambata. Matt Nealon playing devil's advocate. The winner ends up being Matt Nealon. Matt Nealon, like the Cannoli, will be featured on a card commemorating Steel City Con. Now, the 2 of those players will have to play off at a later date to see who actually gets to decide what the card is. I'm not sure if this is going to be an alt art card or an entirely new card, but look to see Matt Nealon versus Anthony Perry to determine the Steel City Con champion. Coming soon, I'll announce that when I have it. They also had Saturday night another Cosmic Birdcage. Actually 7 players. So they opened up 6 Cosmic box sets and a payoff pack, and ended up using the Alien Invader as the 7th competitor in the draft. So it was all the Cosmic Crusaders, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Terra, Venus, and Neptune. The winner of this Cosmic Birdcage ends up being the big guy who I believe was using Neptune. As a result of him winning Saturday and Time Bomb Tim winning Friday, those 2 will square off at some point, and I believe the winner will get a shot at the Intergalactic Championship currently held by Steve Resk. Look for that happening. I don't know if they have to use their Cosmic Crusaders, the ones they played. They very well may. But look for that match, Time Bomb Tim versus the big guy, for a shot at the Intergalactic Championship. And that is going to do it for the events that were at Steel City Con. I want to take a moment and just talk about the convention as a whole. There are some conventions, Origins and Gen Con come to mind, where you come to the convention and there's so much to do. You could be at the convention from the time they open till the time they close and not do everything. And there are some conventions where you can go to the convention and within an hour and a half, you've basically seen and done everything that convention has to offer. Steel City Con is one of those conventions. Primarily, Steel City Con had a large dealer area, and that includes an artist alley where artists were selling prints and doing some commissions. An area for celebrities to sell autographs and photos. And then they had an area where they were doing panels and Q&As with celebrity guests, as well as, I believe the last day, they had a costume contest they hosted in this sort of area with a stage and seating. So unless you wanted to see some panels, your options for what to do at the Steel City Con were outside of the costume contest, look through the dealer hall and see if there's anything you want to buy, or meet a celebrity and get an autograph or a photo. That's basically it with this con. In the case of a con like that, I don't know if doing a promo card where you have to go every day for 3 days is really a great experience for the players. I would almost say if you're going to do a promo card at that kind of convention, just maybe do a 1-day promo, not do the weapon series, do something else. Because while it was great to go to the convention and see the people in play, that was all done outside of the convention at other locations. You really didn't even have to go to the convention to participate in any of those activities. Now, I enjoyed going because I enjoyed getting to see a lot of people, and there were a couple of people I met. I got to meet Britt Baker, for example, the current AEW Women's Champion. But again, for a convention like this, especially where there's no play on site, I might scrap the free promo every day, different promo, just because for me, outside of actually seeing SRG and hanging out and talking to those people, there was very little value for going to that convention. That was a convention. If SRG wasn't there and I decided to go, I'm driving up, I'm driving back, I'm not staying overnight, because one day is all you need to basically see everything they have to offer. Like I said, unless there was a particular panel you wanted to go to, it was pretty much the same experience every day. The only limited celebrity was William Shatner. William Shatner was only doing autographs and photos Friday and Saturday. He was not there on Sunday. Everybody else was, so if you could have gone Sunday, you would have had pretty much the same experience going Saturday, pretty much the same experience going Friday. But those are my thoughts on Steel City Con. And that's really going to do it for the news for this week. Let's talk about the tournaments that happened this past week. So, last Sunday, which would be the 6th as I record this, there was a pop-up tournament. Boss says, wait for it, Sunday night pop-up. The top 4 in that tournament were, in 4th place, using AJ Styles, Carlos Lumbre, I believe that's El Hombre Cybernetico. Apologize if that's wrong. In 3rd place, using Kenny Omega, Alec Ventresca. The finalists in the pop-up tournament were the Cannoli Anthony Perry using Silent J, and Chris Pagillo using Everybody. Competitor you can no longer use in that form in singles. The winner of this tournament ended up being the Cannoli with Silent J. Congratulations to him. Monday night, Proving Ground Tournament. This is a 6-stop trios tournament. Top 4 in this tournament. In 4th place, using Freak Show, the SRG boss, Steve Resk. In 3rd place, using the 2nd version of the higher class, Lucky Cat Nico. The finalists here were Chris Pagillo using Band of Brothers, and Brian Waitford Schmidt using the first triumvirate. The winner here, Brian Schmidt. So Chris Pagillo making back-to-back finals, unfortunately not able to get it done. He's having a great year. He's making a ton of finals. He's just unfortunately at this point not able to win a tournament. So that's a rough place to be in, you know. So close every time. It's hard to, lament that because so many people don't even make the finals. But I get, getting so close to tasting victory and not making it so many times. Pulling for you, Chris. Hope you can convert one at some point in the future. Thursday night, Chibi hosts a tournament. A Thursday night fights. Group stage tournament. Going to a top cut. A cut to a top 8 in the quarterfinal round. They had Ring of Fire matches in the semifinals, Psycho Circus matches. The finals were special guest referee matches. In 3rd place in this tournament, using Le Penguin, his fellow faction mate, Ian Chambers the Cheetah. The finalists here were the Grump Danny Thunder, using Dick Thunderlips, and the Candyman, using Evie Fresh, in a special guest referee match. The winner here, the Grump Danny Thunder with Dick Thunderlips. So the Grump also continuing to have a great year, wrapping up win after win in these online tournaments. Really having a great showing this year. I don't see the special guest referee listed. If I'm able to give that to you, I will. Otherwise, I'll just have to move on. Once again, Danny Thunder winning Thursday night in the Chibi's Thursday Night Fights tournament. Saturday night, there's another Trios tournament. This is part of that Trios series I reported on a little while ago. The Trios Tournament of Champions. The top 4 in this tournament were, in 4th place, using the Low Rollers, Jacob Denmark, the Mad Custodian. In 3rd place, using the League of Extraordinary Grapplers, the Dread Pirate Tech Support, Simon Strauss. The finalists were Bob Dunn as the Think Tank, and the Grump Danny Thunder as the, I believe it's the second version of the higher class, the version with the Grump, Loudmouth Leo Larynx, and Kirk Polka. The winner of this Trios tournament, the Grump Danny Thunder. Back-to-back tournament wins this week. Congratulations to him. The top 2 in this tournament move on. Bob Dunn and the Grump both move on. They join Chris Pate and Justin Myers as 4 of the 8 that'll be in the final portion of this tournament. So, looks like there's going to be 2 more tournaments, with the top 2 of those moving on to whatever the final event will be. But it looks like there's going to be a top 8 that will eventually face off in a match to determine Trios supremacy. Finally, normally I don't get to do this because the tournament's ongoing when I record, but I'm recording a little bit later than usual. So, Sunday night there was a pop-up event, Schmidt's pop-up tourney. The top 4 in this tournament were in 4th place with his own Shaggy Shark, Chris Pagillo. In 3rd place, another top 4 finish this week for him, using the brand new Jacob Fatu competitor, one of the 2 limited time MLW competitors, Alec Ventresca. In 2nd place, somebody I've seen many times, an old favorite, the man behind Harvey Luster, Greg Shockley, using Phantasm. The winner with Big Bad Bobby D, Chris Pate. Chris Pate starting off the week with a win. We'll see if he can keep those wins rolling through the rest of this week. But those were the tournaments from the past, in this case, 8 days, Sunday to Sunday. As for next week, as of right now, nothing is currently listed on supershowthegame.com that you can sign up for. There should be a Proving Ground Monday night. I believe, based on what I've seen, next week the stipulation for next week's Proving Ground tournament, that is Monday night's Proving Ground tournament, is you have to play a singles competitor you've never played before. So we could see some unusual competitors Monday night. We'll have to wait and see. Now, normally I'd say next Thursday, look for a Chibi tournament, but there is a tournament scheduled for Thursday. It's sold out. It is the Jim Calais #1 contender tag team event, singles and tag hybrid. The way this tournament works, and it's scheduled for, again, Thursday, June 17th, 7 p.m. start time. The way it works is this. You're going to, once you've signed up, send an email to the general manager, John Calais at srguniverse.com, with your competitor and your preferred tag team partner. And let me explain why it's going to be preferred and not your actual tag team partner. When you signed up as an individual. There's 32 slots available, 8 groups of 4. So there's a group stage. In these groups of 4, you're going to play each other play in the group, so you'll have 3 matches. The top seed, the person who has the best record in the group, will move on into a top 8. A lot of times in these group stages, it's the top 2. Not this tournament. Only 1 person per group is advancing. So you'll have 8 people make the top cut. At this point, those 8 people will be put into tag teams. If you and your preferred tag team partner both made the top cut, then you will be a tag team in the top cut. If that doesn't happen, then the general manager will assign you a partner based on a method he chooses. He might do it randomly. He might just pick somebody. Who knows? But that's what's going to happen. 4 tag teams will then play single elimination, essentially semifinal round, finals, and then the finalists end up being the number 1 contenders for the LFF Tag Team Champions, unless the general manager decides to take that away. And that is actually listed in the post. The general manager reserves the right to disallow the match for any reason. So even if you win this tournament, you may still not get a shot. So this tournament is for a potential shot at the LFF Tag Team Championship. Their deck list for this tournament, for those who signed up, is due by the end of Talk of the Universe. Usually ends at 10 p.m. Wednesday night, June 16th. Otherwise, there's going to be a penalty. So, June 16th, I'd say get it in before Talk of the Universe starts, so get it in before 8:30, but you have normally till around 10 o'clock. That's when Talk of the Universe normally ends to get that in. People who are in this tournament already have sent their tournament players in, but you couldn't have done Press 1P, Candyman Dan, Johnny Gargano, Shadow Phoenix, Sweet Pea, Eddie Fury, EC3, Hans Mesner, Baby Brick, Aero Lipstick, or 4-Leaf Flynn. All of those competitors were banned. So, Proving Ground Monday, Thursday, this tag team tournament. I don't know at this point if there's anything Friday, Saturday. We'll have to wait and see. I'll bring this up currently on the SRG Super Show discussion group under the events tab. There are 2 events listed. The first, August 14th, listed at a 12 p.m. start time, Pixel Palace Pandemonium 2. This is a Create a Competitor tournament taking place at Pixel Palace Games in Columbus, Ohio. $35 entry fee. You're going to get $10 in store credit. You're going to get 3 promo cards, brand new promo cards created for this event. And you'll be in the tournament. It's going to be Swiss rounds to a top cut with random stipulations in the top cut. Main event finals. You cannot play the original Calais, X-Royce, Snake Pit, EC3, Gia de los Muertos, a prior CAC winner, and anybody currently in the 2020 Vision SRG. That includes the competitors that are actually listed on this post, but have now been moved to Tornado. So D2, Belinda, Sierra, everybody, those were on the list, but you can't actually even play those now because those are now Tornado tagged. But we have that coming up 2 months from now, almost to the day, August 14th, BCW, Pixel Palace Pandemonium 2, Create a Competitor tournaments. 1 week later, August 21st, 4 p.m. at Highlander Games in Boonton, New Jersey, the Super Show August Rush event. They're going to do a sealed payoff pack event. The winners will receive mystery boxes. And after the event, there will be a viewing party for SummerSlam, the big WWE pay-per-view event. So come to play some games and then watch some wrestling afterwards. Both of these events have links to purchase the tickets for the events. Both on sale now. So if you want to go to Pixel Palace, there's a link on the post where you can pre-register and pay your entry fee. As far as I know, expect to prepay. I could be wrong. You can always reach out to the people listed as contacts on both events. Double check that. But just to be on the safe side, pay at the link, pay in advance, register in advance for both of those events. I will definitely be at Pixel Palace Pandemonium 2 unless something happens. Not going to be at August Rush. Just can't make that trip. But for everyone who's coming to Pixel Palace in Columbus, Ohio for Pixel Palace Pandemonium 2, I will see you there. Looking forward to that tournament. And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Outlaw Mudcast. I'd like to thank all of you for listening, and good day.